Hi, this is Corey Shore, the Kennewick School District Glaad coach, and I thought today I would share with you tip number 1 of 3 of our how to use Glaad for social emotional learning. Today we're going to be focusing on the Glaad extended name tag. So the first few weeks as teachers, we all dedicate ourselves to getting to know our students, not just their names, but everything about them. What are their interests? What is their family life like? What do they like to do in their free time? What is their favorite school subject? And how much do they know about our content area? The more we know about a student, the more valued they feel, and the more we can tailor our instruction to them. Every student is an asset. At the same time, we are trying to create safe, welcoming environments so they feel comfortable sharing ideas and learning. Using the extended name tag from Glaad, either in face-to-face instruction or virtual instruction, can accomplish all of this. So first, I want to show you what the extended name tag looks like in face-to-face instruction, because if you've been Glaad trained, this is probably something you've seen. Usually when we start our Glaad trainings, we kick off the training with an extended name tag. As Glaad coaches, we usually use index paper folded into a table tent so that it does truly become a name tag. These are some other examples that teachers have used. This example here is a template, and this teacher simply used a piece of paper, instructed the students to put their name in the middle, and then some get to know you prompts in the 4 corners. She also modeled what their name tag may look like with sketches and some labeling words. It's important to remember that your students can and should be able to include sketches, because once they have sketched and labeled, the magic happens when students are actually sharing the information. So even if they're not answering in complete sentences, later they're going to be explaining orally their answers to their classmates. Another example here is a little bit more simplistic. The teacher just had students sketch. And this one here is a content-based extended name tag. There were 4 different questions about the weather for a weather unit. And all of these questions were geared towards what students thought and why, or in your opinion, which is worse, and explain. So this teacher is trying to get her students to think a little bit more deeply about the weather and different facets of the weather. One helpful hint that we like to use when we're writing questions is to refer to the Bloom's taxonomy question stems. Those always help us write questions to help us getting our students thinking a little bit deeper. This is an example nameplate of something that we may use in our Glaad trainings, and this is something you could use if you are working with a group of teachers in a PLC or as a teacher leader. In the middle, we always have our teachers put their name, school, and grade level, and then if we don't know the teachers, we ask them 2 questions about themselves, and then also 2 different content questions that would relate to whatever we're instructing. Next, once we've shared the prompts, we always model what ours would look like. So here I filled mine out. My name is Mrs. Shore. My position is the K through 12 Glaad coach for the Kennewick School District. Something I learned this summer was effective ways to deliver instruction via remote learning. And this year I plan to deliver asynchronous videos as Glaad supports for teachers. And so that's a way that I plan to implement Glaad into my job. This picture here, something that represented my summer. All summer long, my boys were in and out of the house playing wiffle ball in the yard and coming in to cool off with a big glass of ice water. Something I'm passionate about is gardening and also preserving the food that we get from our garden. This is an example of a secondary template that you might use with your students. This example includes both the question and the student answered right on the template. So what is your favorite genre to read? This student wrote, I like historical fiction, and then included a picture. What is your favorite type of writing and why? The student answered, and then what is something you're passionate about? And place an image, picture, or sketch here to represent your summer. So once the student has completed these, the next step is to get them to share their ideas with their entire class. Or first, I would start with small groups so that they are practicing active listening when they're listening to their peers share, or they are also practicing their oracy skills and discussing complete ideas and complete thoughts out loud. This is a quick elementary version. What is your favorite book? What is your favorite animal? And then a couple more questions here that a student, perhaps maybe just starting kindergarten, could answer. So how would we deliver this to students? There are a few different ways depending on the virtual platforms that your school is using. If you are using Google Classroom, then the teacher could assign one slide per student in Google Classroom. Once the students have finished it, they would turn it in, and then the student or the teachers could then copy and paste all of the students' slides into one large slideshow. From there, perhaps in a synchronous meeting, 2 to 3 students per day could share their name tag, or you could have students share their name tags in a breakout room. If you were sharing in a breakout room, you would probably have to share the link to the entire slideshow in the chat in Zoom so that students could access it, find their slide, and then present it to their classmates over Zoom. Another option in Google Classroom is the teacher could send one large slideshow with a slide labeled for every student, and when the student receives it on their end, they could find their name and create their extended name tag. However, we do know that with shared documents, those are always at risk for being tampered with or accidentally deleted. So that is the risk in that option, but it does save the teacher time in assembling one large slideshow. For the lower grades, an assignment like this could also be assigned in Seesaw. If you're using Zoom, you could always, as I said, send the link to Google, your Google Slides or Google Docs, whichever you decide to use. Send the link to the template or slide in Zoom, have the student answer the prompts, and then share in breakout rooms. If you're looking for an asynchronous way to have students present these, if you have taught your students to use Screencastify, then they could create their extended name tag and then present it quickly on Screencastify and turn in the Screencastify, which could later be shared with the class during a synchronous Zoom. Or you could also assign it in Google Classroom and have students present using Flipgrid. Flipgrid, again, is another option where students would be presenting their information and a picture of their extended name tag if they had one, or if they just did their name tag on a piece of paper. Also, I did want to mention, if you are still having to send packets home, an easy way to implement the extended name tag is to simply print the exact same prompt that you might be using for online students and print it and send it home with students. They could then fill it out, share their ideas with some different family members who could possibly sign their extended name tag to show that the student talked about it, and then send it back with all of their completed work. So just to review, the rationale behind the Glaad extended name tag is to encourage classroom culture and community and provide opportunities for our students to hear personal ideas and be active learners, and also give them the opportunity to voice some of their opinions. We know some of our quieter students have trouble sharing ideas because they're shy, and so this is a great way to help them feel more comfortable. The strategic design is quite simple. The teacher only has to develop 4 questions or prompts, and then in face-to-face learning, use index paper for a table tent or simply a piece of paper, or you could always make a Google Slide template and share that via Google Classroom. For face-to-face delivery, we always in Glaad have students seated in teams. We write their name in the middle. We have students write their name in the middle of their name tag, and they respond to the prompts individually. And always remember that sketches, labeling, or words are acceptable answers. Sometimes we have to allow for our struggling students or our English learners or students who need a little more support to use those sketches to help get their ideas out. Another great idea is to include sentence frames. Then, once they have filled out their extended name tag, they share their responses and active listening is expected. For a virtual platform, we can share a template in a program of your choice with the prompts, and then students can add images, GIFs, photos, sketches, and also respond with words. So thank you for taking the time to learn more about the Glaad extended name tag, and I hope you find that this does help with some of the social emotional learning we're focusing on these first few weeks. If you do have any questions, you can go ahead and email me at corey.shore@ksd.org. Go ahead and look for us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is called KSD Glaad. We often share different ideas there, and various teachers throughout the district also share their ideas and pictures of what they have done. So again, thank you and have a great week.